Well, the benefits are multiple, and most prominently from my research, a lot of students almost reach the consensus that they really, really appreciate the multiple perspectives that American higher education has been able to cultivate. And the result is their critical thinking skills are very much practiced and cultivated in the United States as well. So that's a major benefit. They really appreciate the open conversation, the debate, the multiple perspectives students can openly express. And so that's the academic realm. And they also very much appreciate this very equal relationship between faculty and students. Something that is quite lacking in their prior system, where there is more of a teacher-centered, a hierarchical relationship between student and teachers. So the flaws, not so sure whether it's the flaws of the American system per se, but definitely the party culture that in American higher education has very much marginalized Chinese students, and a lot of Chinese students do not really feel a sense of belonging in the dominant party scene. As a sociologist education myself, I know that there is a literature of American higher education that really shows not only international students, like Chinese students, find it very marginalized and sort of exclusionary, but also domestic students, especially racial minority students and first-generation college students, also find the party culture very alienating. And that is something, probably the flaws of American higher education, that really stands in the way of a good social experience of Chinese students. Definitely, the impact is quite chilling. And I would say that Chinese students often find themselves caught in the political crossfire between the escalating U.S. China tensions. So that really, again, applies to both their academic and social experiences. As we all know that these kinds of U.S. China bilateral tensions have translated into pretty negative American public attitudes towards China. I think if you look at the Pew research report, the percentage of American public's negative attitudes towards China has increasingly risen over to 80%. I think most recent data shows it's 80 to 83%. And that negative attitude towards China has also translated into their negative attitudes towards Chinese students. While most of the American public are welcoming international students, over half of them do not really think we should have Chinese students. So that, Chinese students may not really be aware of the exact statistics. They can read the media articles, they can sense, they're aware that American public are not positive about China and about them. So that really send a very chilling message to them. And for prospective students, I think the effect probably is even more severe, that a lot of students have decided not to come to the United States. They have decided that America is not really welcoming them anymore, despite Biden administration's more explicit message of showing otherwise. You can see that in 2022, the number of visas have been really cut in half. That really shows the decreasing interest of prospective students from China in American higher education. I think the API inclusion is extremely important, as we can all see that anti-Asian racism has been conspicuously on the rise since the COVID-19 pandemic. But even before that, anti-Asian racism is there. The problem is not just on the American college campuses, but in American public in general. The awareness of anti-Asian racism is not at all there, and scholarship of Asian American students already show that even themselves are not as open or comfortable talking about racism they have experienced. So I think American university or college education broadly, what they can do is really through education to raise more awareness, through promoting and encouraging more conversations and more resources to stimulate those conversations about AAPI history, AAPI community issues, and how to really be a better ally, how to really protest against anti-Asian racism. Those kinds of conversations put in the open, that is really a very important mission that Asian American higher education can do. And as a director of Asian American Studies program, I know that we don't really have a lot of our programs, and I'm proud that Syracuse University has it, and we have resources to sponsor events out of our program, but we should have as many of those programs in major American universities and colleges, so that we can have platforms to reward and resource those kinds of open conversations and educate our community about this. Personally, I think this is very much related to what I said about the university. As a faculty member, I think AAPI month is a recognition of the history of AAPI community. It also provides, the sense of belonging through various kinds of forums and conversations by bringing, like, for example, our university, by bringing external speakers, by promoting AAPI Heritage Month book series. These all are going to really promote the sense of belonging for Asian American students on campus, and for myself as well.